What is going on, Nissan Nation? From all things Nissan here in Middle Tennessee to Danny, we are way West Coast for us, man. We're going down to Australia. This is your Nissan Nation, and I'm your host, David Boyd, and we got Danny. And Danny, introduce our guest here.
Well, I'm going to let you do the full introduction, but Trev is the West Coast, almost the West Coast version of Australia. Close enough as far as I'm concerned. Well, no, I'm sorry. That would be the East Coast for you, right? I think. Anyways, we have Trav.
Full south.
We have a real live Australian here.
A real live one.
To talk about all kinds of rad, fun Nissan things, from down under, if you will. I don't get to use that term so much, so I get to use it right now.
I know.
But yeah,
man.
Trav, welcome in, brother.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, guys.
Of course,
Probably,
man.
you probably use the other term down under more often.
Well, I'm sure that you guys don't want to hear, was it Men at Work, laying down under? Like, I'm sure that's been played out for every American ever talking to any person from Australia.
Oh, yeah. Luckily, it was a good song. So,
oh, man. I will say this. Like, America's fascination in the 80s with Australia was something nuts, man. We got Crocodile Dundee, and we got all these things. And Trev, I know you're like, Jesus Christ, man, please don't be talking about this stuff. But us Americans are other than that, we know nothing of them like Australia, except for like the Olympics was there a few years ago.
Look, I'm all about stereotypes, especially when most of them are true. So just go for it.
I personally absolutely freaking love Australia. I think I've said it a few times before. I actually have my son. His biological father is from Perth, and he actually has a bunch of grandparents and aunts and uncles and stuff like that out there, and so I will for sure be going out there. But if anybody's like a YouTube car person, watching Mighty Car Mods way back in the day, just some really fun Australian guys that do a YouTube show that was a ton of fun and so much fun to watch those guys. And there is so much open land out there, and I mean some of it is just flat forever, but it's still a lot of wild country, and I know a lot of off-road kind of guys are drawn to that kind of area and whatnot. So it's cool to talk to you, get some of your perspective on how people mod their cars out there, what kind of Nissans you have, and all the other things that we may not, just the cultural differences, but at the same time, we're Nissan fans and stuff, and so.
Yeah, Nissan tragics for life. But see, down here we've got it really easy, understanding all your accents and whatnot, because we got all your TV shows since forever.
Yeah, right.
Like, you've only got those couple of movies to base all your knowledge on, so that's too far away.
That's so true. That's so true. You guys have a better look into our culture than I think we do usually of yours.
Well, we get Kylie Minogue, and Hugh Jackman and Chris Hemsworth.
They just come up. And most of those people you think are American until you see them speak. You're like, oh, that's just another singer that's out here, touring around or something like that. But
yeah, well, look, only the best actors make it overseas, so they're the ones that can master American accent.
Right.
Well, and it's trippy. Like, this isn't Movie Nation, but it's amazing because a lot of movies are filmed down in Australia now. I'm sure for tax reasons or whatever, but a lot of the extras and stuff are like, and you would never know, like. I know, so I don't know if you guys have The Walking Dead there or not, the zombie show, but
yeah,
half of that cast is either English or Australian or something. They're like, and they do a perfect Southern accent.
Well, you don't get more Southern than here besides Antarctica.
Yeah, that's the truth.
One of those movies that when it first kind of blew my mind how different they can make a city look in a movie is The Matrix. That was all filmed in and around Sydney.
Yeah.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, you didn't know.
Yeah, like if you really look, you can see. Oh, yeah, that's a Holden Commodore. It's not a Crown Vic.
Man,
that kind of thing. You do a pretty good job hiding it all.
Yeah. Hey, I got a question. So you guys have completely different seasons than us and whatnot. What kind of season? What's your weather patterns kind of going from and into right now?
Well, because we're so big, we're like you guys. You're like Seattle can have one weather, and then Florida can have the other. So that's kind of how big we are. But right now here in Melbourne, we call it you call it spring too. It's not fall. We're in spring going into summer.
Right.
Like already, I think next week's one of the northern states around Sydney. I think they're already getting ready for bushfires. Those sort of conditions. So
yeah,
and you guys
it doesn't muck around.
Yeah, you guys have had enough of that, man. It's not
like
don't bring more of that crap.
Yeah, that's the truth.
Yeah.
Well, Trap,
I feel you.
Getting pretty good at
it. I know all about your brush fire problems. Believe me.
Yeah, California. Yeah, and I got some buddies in and around Oregon and stuff, and yeah, some of the updates is like, oh, so and so's buddy's lost his garage, and yeah, it's all pretty real and scary.
Yeah. Well, so Trav, we got to know you, I think, did the audio show, right? You were listening to the podcast, if I remember right.
Yeah, like I wasn't there from the start because I kind of resisted podcasting because it seemed to be this too cliched of like a white person thing.
Yeah.
And mowing the grass and doing things like that, it was good. So I got onto a few episodes and started messaging you like a distant creepy fan, and then turns out we on the same page on a few things.
That's right, man. And of course, hockey being one of them. We're both hockey fans.
Yep.
But so like we've talked to a few Australians, and it's always trippy. Like you were saying, like the West Coast is different from the East Coast. And where was Cody from? He was north of you. Oh gosh. Anyways,
I think I caught that. Was that the fellow with the patrol?
Yeah.
No, that was David Garcia.
Okay.
Oh yes. David is in Melbourne nearby to me, but I haven't crossed paths with him like in real life or online. But he'd be 20-30 minute drive from me.
Oh, nice. So what? I mean, how did you initially find the show? I mean, were you just like, well, let's see what we're clearly you're a Nissan fan. You got flags and stuff hanging up, but was it just looking for Nissan?
Well, I don't know. I think the podcast ads, because I'm pushing them down here on the radio so everyone can make their money.
Mm-hmm.
And like one of the things was like, if you're into it, it's out there. So I'm like, oh, I'll just search for Nissan and Datsun, and there you guys were. And at the time, we didn't have a 4x4. Right. So I'm like, oh yeah, look, I'll roll with it. Yeah, hearing you guys talking about Windrock and all that, and that was cool. And then we ended up getting 4x4, so it became much more relevant again.
Yeah. Well, I know you've had a handful of cars that we would love to have there. Kind of give us a little bit of history of your Nissan fleet, man, because I mean, I hate to say, I know we've talked a lot, so I know a lot about it, but so I'll kind of glaze over something, but I'm curious about what, because I know you've had some classics.
Yeah, look, I kind of mess with the old stuff a lot, like a lot of my peers and guys in the club. So I guess it all kind of started with R31 modeled Skylines. Mm-hmm. They built a bunch of them here, four-door sedans. They did a couple of more sporty options. I've got one of those, limited car. Then you get more money and less taste, so I end up buying a two-door Japanese import coupe, a HR31, which we're starting to get a few over there, privately imported. Mm-hmm. From there, I don't know, I think the next thing could have been a 720 two-wheel drive ute.
Oh, nice.
Which, it's great. Now, I got one of those because when I was a kid, I did a micro machines of it.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Like the 1/100th scale or whatever they were. So I always wanted a blue one. The old cliche of driving through a country town, saw one parked up, left a note, and ended up going back to pick it up a few months later.
That's crazy, man. That's nuts. And now you're in a fairly new Navara, right?
Yep. So I was driving what we called it everyone calls it one. It's a K11 Micra, a little compact car, like a 1.3 motor. I think Canada have the current model. But I don't think anyone in North America had the K11. So it was a tiny little car. It was Nissan's version of a Mini, a Leyland Mini, or that kind of thing. Their interpretation of it. I got some buddies that are still madly into those. Just got a little sick of driving an old car every day. That was like a 94, 95 model. And I started sniffing around D22 or D40 Frontiers, hoping to get a rear-wheel drive, manual, two-wheel drive thing. And then my wife foolishly said, if you're going to spend that, why don't you see how much a new one is? So didn't need too much convincing, and yeah, got a brand new 2019 two-wheel drive D23 STX because I'm getting old and I have to show off the status with the leather seats.
So what are they? Because that's one thing down there. I don't know the packages. So there's STX, which I've seen quite a bit of. What are those, and what are the levels of those things?
Oh, look, I'm not an expert, especially with the four-wheel drive stuff, but off the top of my head, with the four-wheel drive, ignoring the latest release, the top one was it was a Warrior.
Right.
Which I guess was cashing in on the Titan Warrior concept.
Right.
I think it was kind of pretty close to what the Pro 4X is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
It was the next one down, is the STX, and then a ST, which is where you go to the smaller 16-inch wheels, cloth seats, smaller radio.
Right.
They all have the 2.3 twin turbo diesel motor.
Right.
Below that is the SL, which comes with like steel wheels, like single or king cab or twin cab, maybe just with you buy it just as a bare chassis.
Yeah.
And then early in the range, when I think they were still called MP300s, they had an option of just a single turbo of the Alliance motor. And then other markets, I think, still get the 2.5 CR motor.
Right.
Diesel.
Well, and did you guys got the Mercedes too, right?
Yeah. I'm basing everything I know about the two models on rumor, but yeah, it sounds like there was some sort of embargo agreements with that, and Mercedes could pick the eyes out of the features they wanted and kept them off limits to Nissan. So,
yeah. Well, I'd heard that the new one's going to get a lot of those features that since Mercedes didn't want any more to do with that. But I'm fascinated. You guys always get the coolest stuff that we can't get, and I'm sure there's things like Titan. Like I'm sure you guys would like a full size truck down there. But it's always amazing to me because you guys have lost a lot of auto manufacturing. Like I don't think there's very many people that actually build anything in Australia anymore. So you guys are getting really reliant on what other countries need, right?
Yeah, for sure. Like surprisingly, we still have a couple of the big companies doing things here. Like a lot of spare parts for Nissan are made here in Melbourne. They got the casting plant still running. As far as research and design, I think GM are scaling back the design down at there's an industrial town called Fisherman's Bend where their HQ was.
Right.
I think Ford still have some brains here. I know Toyota do some sort of R&D or at least testing out of their office in Mulgrave, but overall the construction is just gone.
Yeah. So a lot of your stuff is coming from the Indonesian market now, right?
Yeah, Southeast Asia is probably what I'd say. I think Navara, Thailand. I think Europe get them out of Spain. The D40, we got them out of Spain or Thailand. You had to confirm before you ordered parts, that kind of thing.
Really? The parts.
Yeah, look, I never. Oh, sorry.
So they were just that different, huh?
I think only in specific areas.
Yeah.
And look, I've chatted with a couple of sales dealers about the features that the Navara doesn't have, that other cars would. Like pretty much all the features that the newly released model is going to have already exists in Nissan. They just aren't equipped for it, so they say, at the Thailand plant. So you get those variations.
Right. Well,
they're more like the intelligent stuff, the lane departure, and
right. Yeah. So you guys patrol, like up here in the United States, man. Patrol is like if it's every dude's wet dream up here, wouldn't you say, Danny?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of one of those things. If you can't have it, you want it. I mean, not to say it isn't a super iconic thing, but I think for the off-road guys, it's similar to the car guys. You can't really get a GTR, and so if somebody shows up somewhere with a patrol, everybody's like, oh,
yeah.
But that's and that's not to say a GTR is an amazing car, but just the rarity just pumps it up on the scale of radness. And having, because we do have a lot of Land Cruiser stuff out here, not quite the same stuff, but we do have a lot of Land Cruiser stuff out here. The patrol is kind of just that gem that we never really quite got, that would have probably been amazing to compete against a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, like the last. What was the last gen patrol? What is the coding of that? I'm horrible with.
The current one is a Y62.
But the last one was a G.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now they ran that for a long time, which
right.
turns out to be a good thing, especially now with the enthusiasts in the second-hand market. But I believe it ran. It was like the Starship Enterprise. They had GU1, 2, 3. I don't know if there was Generation 4, but it just got a little more modern looking on the outside each time.
Now
they took away the Hero motor eventually as well.
Yeah. Well, the last one is probably my favorite SUV of all time. Like it just looked great, and luckily there's a few of them up here. A friend of ours that does was it Oz 4-wheel drive? Is that it, Danny?
Yeah. Yeah.
He was able to import one in. Well, he didn't import it. He brought it up from Brazil, so it's actually left-hand drive, and it's really cool.
He's got two of them, yeah. But he's got the latest one, which is super clean, really beautiful, and then he's got the earlier gen.
And when I see it and it's in that classic silver, man, I see that thing and I'm like, oh my God, how I gotta like GTRs, like the Skyline GTRs. I'm like, well, that's really cool, but I do see a few of those around here every once in a while. But to me, especially being an off-road dude, like that patrol is like my dream vehicle. Like,
I think they're more rare than you see than GTRs for sure. They're way more rare.
Yeah, they would be.
Yeah, but I love that. Oh my God, that if I would kill for one of those SUVs.
Oh yeah, that 4-door, dude. If I could, I would do whatever it took to make my wife drive one of those every day. If I could get one at a responsible price.
Right. Trav, does I know there was kind of a fuss when they redid the Patrol in what we call the Armada now, like going to that 5.6 V8. I'm seeing in patrol groups now, like they've kind of started going with the petrol, like they're like accepting of that now.
Yeah. Look, I think the thing was the not the old wives' tale, but let's say the old farmer's tale that you can't get petrol in the bush. Well, you're right, you can't, but you can't get like diesel in the bush either. But they were saying that it's got to be diesel because you can. When you're on the Birdsville track or one of these stock routes like what Danny was talking about at the start through the desert, you can go to whatever it's called ranch. We'll call it Aussie Dude Ranch, where they just run cattle. Mm. They'll have tens of thousands of litres on site just for their own equipment. So I think back in the day, people would be, have the reassurance that they can get fuel from wherever. And then the next issue was everyone saying that, the petrol V8's too thirsty. But, with a little bit of extended testing, a couple of the journos and probably probably what actual owners have done. I think it's worked out to be pretty darn close.
Right, and they seem to really take into that thing now. But what about the size of it? Going to this larger size, more of a full size thing. Are people adapting to it when they're taking them out?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it doesn't look overly big compared to the GU.
Mm-hmm.
But it's probably more of a fear of scratching such an expensive car. And unfortunately, it doesn't look like there's too many fleet buyers for the Patrol, because that's, usually how you get something you can, rough and tumble that's only 3 or 4 years old, something that's retired, gas company or emergency services at auction, that kind of thing. But like, I've sent you a couple of photos over the years. People are decking them out, and I think you had that fella on who made the bumpers and some custom gear for it. But the guys are doing it, and maybe it's a flex. Maybe they're getting their $80,000 Patrol and kitting it out and going bush just because they want to show off they can, and that's cool.
Right. My point to this is if Nissan were to bring the Titan down that way, same engine, would I've heard there's some restrictions to bring in the larger vehicles like that. Like, is it a license thing or?
Well, I don't know about that red tape, but like something that grinds my gears is that someone, a company's been set up and they're bringing in the Ram.
Mm-hmm.
They do the compliance, a few suburbs away in an old racing workshop. They used to build the Nissans back in the day. So, like, it can't be that hard. Someone to set up, like, I'm not going to say a grain importer, but like a sub vehicle manufacturer business, and have the company, I think it's called Procar, do the conversions and everything to get them ADR, Australian Design Rules compliant.
Right.
If they can do it, Nissan could have done it.
Yeah.
With Holden leaving and whatever has been set up in their place with the General Motors special vehicles, I think it's called. I mean, they're bringing in a trickle of Silverados. Like,
that's what I've heard.
Yeah, what are they, ZR71s or whatever that trim level is?
Yep.
So we've got some big boys on the roads now, and I kind of feel that I'm biased, of course, but every Ram that gets sold here could have been a Nissan sale.
Yeah, and because Nissan has a pretty good following there, correct?
Yeah.
So
I don't remember Nissan saying here, but they started like, I think the first Datsuns were sold here in like '62. So
yeah.
Get around.
So for GM and those guys, they got to work to kind of brand awareness, because I mean, obviously you guys know Chevrolet and those names, but they're not like a more common. I know Ford's more common there, but it seems like I've wondered that it seems like Nissan had, like, they could flip the dash pretty easy, and I'm sure there's some testing glass, like normal. Every country has their own glass rules and stuff, but I've heard there's a few down there that some of the oil fields or something have gotten them, and like they like them.
Yeah. The ones you don't want to buy, they're here. I think there was some iron ore mines that got a few fleets, but they kept them left-hand drive. They were on private land the whole time.
Right.
That's the last sort of vehicle I'd want to buy, something that's been lubricated with crushed iron ore dust. But yeah, if that's the only way to get one, well, so be it.
Yeah. But it is something that, like, you guys would be interested in down that way?
Me personally, yeah, I probably would have tried to acquire a used Titan instead of this Navara, just because, I'm just a Nissan nuffy. So let's get the big one, get it in 2-wheel drive.
Yeah.
Well,
what are some of the cars up here in the United States that you guys, besides the Titan, that we have that you don't, that you think would do well there?
Oh, I mean, the go-to, like one of the 2 default custom cars, custom classic cars. Like, we get the Mustang now in like 2 motor configurations, so that's a done deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, look, I don't really see an American release and froth that I don't have it because I don't watch it unless it's a Nissan one. So
yeah,
look, we do okay. I mean, yeah, those the big trucks, like I said, the Silverado being look, a car being sold here with some sort of dealership backing is probably reassuring for a lot of people.
yeah.
But look, I'm starting to see a few Tundras on the roads here. And look, they really stand out. The Tundras, the Titans, the Silverados, like they're bigger.
Right. Well,
they're definitely.
I've heard drivers like complain because they're a little wider vehicle. I've read some stuff, whether it's true or not, that some of the smaller car drivers don't like seeing these big things on the road.
Yeah, well, we're going to start on drivers, are we? Look, I've driven a bunch in America, right? Like, yeah, you do get road rage and you get this and that, but American drivers, you're not going to believe me. Overall, maybe not in LA. Everywhere else, they're more courteous.
Yeah.
Like, they see you coming, like they're going to yield, or whatever you call it. They might hate you 2 seconds later and burn past, but here in Australia, I don't know, it's a weird kind of like Mad Max racer vibe. Like, this is my section of this lane, and if you want a piece of it, you've got to go through me first.
That's great. Oh,
yeah, man. And look, a lot of them are wearing like helmets and leather chaps and things, but yeah.
Well, then I'm worried because Mad Max, I think, was supposed to have been in 2020 when the first movie came out. That was when it was supposed to be set. So if there's no leather chaps down there, I'm a little upset.
Yeah. Look, I'll get you a pair when you come down. Don't worry, man.
Well, me and Danny, we want to be down there, right?
Oh, I want to get out there so bad. Just to touch the culture with my mind, if you will.
Well,
anytime.
So Trav, we were talking before we got on air that you didn't think the Navara release was very good, and in the nicest way possible. What did it just not strike? For one, I like the truck. I think it's a good look. I think it's a nice refresh of the one you have. And the idea of getting a Pro 4X, making it kind of a global something, because I'm sure y'all have heard of Pro 4X here in the United States, and getting the locker and stuff. But overall, it was kind of, I will say it was a little difficult to watch.
Yeah, I mean, they set the bar high with the Z1. Now, yes. I know the Navara is not going to have that budget, but like I told you, I drove past the morning of the launch, and yeah, they accidentally had the curtains still open. I could see the truck. I could see, a few guys in suits, posturing near a camera. I could see my buddy's truck there in the background. So we thought there'd be at least some sort of live cross, but what can you do? And maybe Nissan Australia had no part in the launch.
Yeah, well, their last few launches of that and the Aria and a few of these have been kind of lackluster. So, like you said, the Z built it up so high because that was a great launch. I don't know. Did they show on your broadcast? Did they show like where they were here in Nashville, Tennessee, like at the Z convention and all that?
Well, the problem was I was watching your coverage of it, so if Nissan Australia showed their own, I didn't see it.
Hey, Trav, I got a question. What Zs did you get out there?
So look, that's one of the times we did well. So we got the 240Z. I don't know the year, and I'm sure there's going to be some fans that they get mad because Z guys, they're a bit different down here.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to say late 69, early 70. I think we got some of the first fleet, so to speak. Then we got the 260 and then the 260 2+2. We didn't get the 280Z, like the S30 chassis.
Right.
Our next one was the S130 chassis, the 280ZX. And then we've got them all ever since. We may not have got like the same trim level, like the Z31, like the California Turbo. We didn't get many of those.
Right.
Little differences like that. And then Yeah, Z32. We didn't get any turbos from memory. I think all ours were NA 2+2s.
Really?
Then the 350, the 370.
Right.
Yeah, we didn't miss out on much. We even got the Nismos in the 370.
So no turbo 300s?
Not that I'm aware of. I know they came in since because, and this is what gets American fanboys pretty pissed off, is we had quite progressive grey import laws in the 90s and thousands.
Right.
I'm not going to get into the details because I like to forget a lot of things like numbers, but turbocharged Z32s, R32 Skylines, non-turbos, turbos, GTRs, all that good stuff that, we've got a visitor that everyone's excited about. All right, I'll go and do that. We were getting them on like low volume imports. The compliance shop would put side intrusion bars and change the fuel filler neck and a few other things they were supposed to do. Then we got them all. Like a lot of Australian guys are hurting, at least online, because I remember the R34 GTR being $80,000 Australian. It seemed about $8 to me. What did one go for recently? Like 550 US at auction. So yeah, so we had it good for a while back in the early 90s.
Sounds like it. And now it's crazy now, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. Even here, sorry, Danny.
I said something like you gotta, if you want to import anything, you gotta chop it in half or some crazy stuff like that.
Oh no, we didn't. Like you guys had to hide them from the feds. Like we just had to do the right paperwork and go through the compliance accredited workshop, and we could get them. Not quite as good as New Zealand could because they haven't ever had an industry, so to speak. So New Zealand have got some cool oddball imported cars. So that's something you have to look at in the future. But like talking about cars cutting in half, things were so cheap. You'd buy half of a S13 with an SR20 for like $2,000, $3,000. So pretty much everything was SR20 swapped in the mid 2000s.
Yeah, I could see that for sure.
We had it real good. I'll say the golden era of Australian import cars was back there.
For sure.
Well, I'm in some GTR groups, and Australia seems to be the mecca for the Skyline stuff, like quite a bit of it. Now, did you guys? One of our people watching there, Joe Taylor's asked, is there Infinity in Australia?
There was twice.
There you go, Joe. Twice.
Yes, two.
Yeah,
two cars.
Well, the first time it was one car. They when the Q45 was released, what was that, 89, 90? There was one dealership pretty much per state, or at least in Melbourne, and they were selling the Q45, and I think it was like the first ticket price was like $125,000, $130,000 Australian.
Wow.
And the economy wasn't real good back then here, so they did struggle to sell all of them, from what I hear. And like they're one of the saddest cars to depreciate that I've ever come across. Like probably the same as there, you buy them for $2,000 with the gold-plated clock still included.
Wow. So it they just never pushed it there, huh?
I don't know. Yeah, that was before my time of being aware of automotive economics, but
right.
I was in primary school. But more recently, they did a bit of a relaunch, and pretty much around the time that guy from Audi ruined all the model names, and they've just in the last year pulled the pin on that.
Yeah.
Hey, Trav. You kind of you waded into kind of how you got into some of your cars. What vehicles do you own right now? What Nissans do you own right now?
Right now, well, so outside there we've got a GQ Patrol with the petrol motor. That's going weekends away. A TB42E, a fuel injected one. I couldn't justify the diesel tax for the TD motor, like up to 10 grand more, depending on how much the owner thinks they're worth. But then they're prone to different issues. So I was happy with the petrol one. Yeah, I got the 19 Navara, got the R31 two-door Skyline Coupe still. But I bought my wife a 66 Datsun 411 that was built here.
A 411.
So
I'm gonna have to look that one up. I don't think I've come across a Datsun 411 in all of my Googleating.
Just pick up the phone and dial 411 and ask, bro.
Right? Hey, that actually works here too. What? How does that work? How is 411? Okay, so 411 was information for us. How is that like a thing there?
No, I'm just trying to sound cool that I know about your stuff.
He just busted your balls, Danny. I let you go into that one.
I thought that there was a cool cultural thing that we both shared, but apparently you know more about my culture than I do about yours.
Well, so
yeah, like I said,
so Trav, you were saying that the fuel versus diesel, the petrol versus diesel was like kind of a thing, but so what? And I'm gonna sound stupid with Australia because I literally here recently the way I figured out Australia is getting on Snapchat because there's these little hot spots and I'm like, oh, you can like see like hot spots of where people are Snapchatting whatever. And
Look, I've heard of Snapchat,
but I didn't realize the West Coast for you guys there was a hot spot of it. Oh, nice! That's a cool little car.
Is this something like that?
Oh, I don't think he can.
He can't see me. Well, sorry. Go on, Dave.
Describe it to me.
Well, it looks like there's a two-door and there's a two-door and a wagon and a four-door of the 411. It looks like almost like a predecessor to the 5. I'm guessing it's like a predecessor to the 510 kind of a deal, right?
Yeah, sure. I call it a poor man's Alfa Romeo because it was designed by the same people.
It looks like it for sure. That's interesting. That's cool to see actually. Like it's odd for me to find a new Nissan just because I've poured over all kinds of different old stuff and just as an enthusiast, but I've never heard of a 411 ever, and seeing this, it's cool. It reminds me of like the old BMW 1200s and kind of back in that time frame.
Yeah.
Well, so
from what I believe, from reading, sorry, yeah, go on.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, from reading his book, the 3 Series and the 410, 411 seems to be two of the cars that Mr. K wasn't happy with before he dropped the hammer and they sorted out their stuff for the 510 with the motor. So it's definitely one of the less popular models. But now that people are desperate for anything Datsun, there's definitely more of an interest recently.
Yeah, I could for sure see that. And just the older something gets, the more nostalgia it gets. And even if you were to go back in time, or even now, I won't say it's the most beautiful car, but the nostalgia aspect of it, it's really cool from an old car perspective. It's just it's a piece of history at this point. And just old design, and it's just so different than a lot of the stuff that you'd see. I mean, other than the fact that it's
well, Danny, have you ever driven anything that kind of old, mid 60s that was kind of still in stock form?
I mean, I had a 67 Camaro when I was 16.
Yeah, but was it still in stock form? Like,
not
so
much.
the way I'm looking at that Datsun there was a lot like I had a 64 Volkswagen Bug. And something was so much fun about it. Yeah, the little shifter was you feel like you could break it in half.
Everything's just got character.
Yes, everything about those old cars like that. There's so much character. They're never going to drive completely straight. They wander around the road a little bit, but it's so much fun to drive something like that.
It can never be fast, so you're at peace with it, and you just enjoy its quirks.
Yeah.
Yes, totally agree with you on that.
Well, so I was curious. We were talking about the Titan and the Patrol being
the diesel and whatnot.
Well, but the Patrol being in the 5.6 now. So like I was saying with Snapchat, the only thing I mean, I obviously I know of Melbourne and the East Coast, like it's the most from our point of view, it's the most popular thing. But Perth is on the other side, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's
in the south.
It's the only big city on that whole west coast. It's right down the bottom there.
Right. Yeah. So is there concern with kind of? It looks like petrol cars are becoming more popular, or globally. I know globally they're trying to phase diesel cars and stuff out a little bit or slow them down. Does that concern? I've looked on Google Maps or Google Earth and I've seen where fuel stations are and stuff, but is it kind of like iffy to go that way? Like obviously it's a few days to get there.
Yeah, look, I haven't done the drive. I will one day, but look, it's no Eisenhower interstate, but there is enough outposts along there that you can keep a gas car going. Like backpackers have been driving petrol-powered shit heaps right across the bottom and up the east coast for, let's say, centuries, and they're not all driving diesels, not a chance.
Yeah.
So that might be part of the fear that you can't get petrol. I mean, I'd be more concerned that you can't get premium. Right. I've had that even in our state. So, maybe some guys would be stressing and like try and get the thing detuned if it can't do it itself. I'm not up with the tuning of Y62s, but at least across the bottom and the east coast, no stress about gas. Like going north on the west coast might be different once you pass some of those mining areas. I can't remember any of them right now.
Yeah.
They're not very nice from what I can tell. My sister lived in one of them for a while. And Port Hedland. It's as far up as Brisbane, but it's about as populated as a parking lot.
Well, don't feel bad because I barely know what's on the east coast of our country, and it's extremely well populated. I always get mixed up with Rhode Island and Delaware and Vancouver or not
Vancouver. Wrong.
That's not even a country.
Wrong country.
I don't even know where Vancouver is. I know it's in Canada. I think.
Well, I'm glad you know Delaware. It was the first state, wasn't it?
Yep.
Oh man, this would be a great side project, Danny. Listen, having the Australian tell you about U.S. history.
I was homeschooled, man. I don't remember any of that stuff.
Well, if they stamp it on their license plate, I've probably read it.
Nice.
Well,
how are all those guys going up in New Hampshire? Are they living free or are they dying? I haven't heard an update since I read the license plate.
Well, there depends on how they're voting.
Yeah. It's a little contentious right now. Let's not talk about that. There's too much contention between the states at this point.
Yeah. America right now is like 50-50. We don't know what's going on here anymore. So
yeah, we've been watching it. It's the lead story on all of our news. Like, if I had popcorn here, I'd bust it out. But...
So what is the PC, the clean version of what y'all think is going on?
Geez, I don't know. I consume it as entertainment. Which is not my country.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. But like we said at the start, we see all of your culture, so there's a lot of people here that will be vocal about one or the other when it's none of their damn business.
Yeah. Right. That's
they're not going to benefit all, really.
That's super interesting because it doesn't actually apply to them per se, but everybody's got to take a stance on something, I guess, huh? Anyhow.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if it exists, people are going to bet and cheer on it. So
yeah, that's the truth.
Right. So we got that new Navara coming out. I know privately you guys would like to see the Terra get there. Is that something like a smaller SUV, something just capable?
Well, like the gospel of the Xterra, what do you say? Everything you need, nothing you don't. Yeah. Body on frame, smaller motor, less weight, still capable, still be driven places. Like that, the idea of a body on frame from SUV from Nissan. I mean, I would have bought one instead of the Navara because, you know, I'm clearly a family man. You saw him pop in before. So a lot of the other companies here are doing it. Toyota have theirs. Isuzu have theirs. Ford have the Everest, which is based on the Ranger. Mitsubishi, they're doing theirs. I think is it called an Outlander or a Pajero Sport? I can't remember.
Right.
Only one or two of the companies not doing one while they offer a turbo diesel ute, a pickup.
Yeah.
So I think there's definitely room for it here, and especially for you guys. Like in the Philippines, they're very popular, and they're left-hand drive there. So,
well, I was told by a Nissan representative the reason we don't get it is because of just honestly build quality. They don't think that. You know, Americans we're all fat and lazy and like really nice things, and they don't think it would be nice enough for our market, which is weird because the Jeep, you guys get some Wranglers, right? So Wrangler is Wrangler's
pretty popular.
It's one of the cheapest built things there is. Like they're getting a little more fancy, a little more tech in them, but as far as there's not a lot to that vehicle other than you can throw big tires on it and you know feel like you're running over people. But why these markets think that, well, it's just the first gen Xterra did so well because it literally was everything you needed, nothing you didn't. It was a 4-wheel drive, it was an honest 4-wheel drive, and you got a nice little radio, and that's about it. And
it was a true SUV, you know. It was very capable off-road. It was very practical, good space, you know, had enough power, you know, it had equivalent power to all the things, if not a little bit more in some of the aspects. And, you know, and then they came out with a little supercharged version, which was kind of cool for us and whatnot. But
was that a vehicle that y'all were aware of in Australia that kind of like, when are we going to get it?
Look, not me personally, and from the media that I read back then, because that's when like car magazines were around, I wasn't aware of it, to be honest. Probably wasn't until I was in America in like the early 2000s and would see some of these other models. They did release here the Nissan Terrano, which was like a hard body based thing at first. Slightly different to the Pathfinder in ways that I won't be able to explain because I don't know. But then the Terrano 2 was probably the closest we had to the Xterra. Like it ticked a lot of the same boxes. Like it was quirky. It had like the four-cylinder motor. It was that lighter duty off-road SUV.
Yeah.
I kind of really want one, but I've got no reason to justify it.
I have a lot of cars that way.
Yeah. It's got the TD27 motor, which is a 4-cylinder version of the Halo motor out of the old Patrols, the TD42. You know, Yeah. So that'd be cool, but I've got plenty of other projects.
I was always curious if Xterra was even thought about that way, and I guess because you have the Philippine market there that got a lot of the Toronto, all that stuff like that. Yeah, it was probably just never for you guys, and.
Well, and having the Patrol there, I mean, it would be you'd almost be competing against yourself in a way. The Patrol was really filling that niche in the market,
and that's a good thing.
And the wheels of the Patrol, like yes, a Patrol was expensive, but because we had all of them, you know, the family could afford a slightly used one or a poverty pack new one.
Yeah.
It was quite the staple of the Nissan range.
Well. Right. Well, so Patrol 2-door or 4-door, which 2-door here anymore. 2-door nothing sells in the United States. I'm assuming it's a lot of the same there. Like 2-door, nobody wants 2-door cars.
Well, the enthusiast does.
Yes.
Perhaps not the new buyer. Like they didn't have a 2-door Patrol. I'm going to say from about '93 with the GQ model. Like. Now to buy one of those, let's the ideal expensive vintage Patrol would be like a 1990 turbo diesel short wheelbase Patrol, maybe with a bit of fruit added to it, maybe some lockers and bar work and winch. some guys will put them up for $30,000 plus. Wow. Like they're sought after little cars, trucks.
And I can see it.
Yeah, because Oz has he has the little round light one here, a 2-door. That's hey Trav, you're on my Facebook. You can search for oh God, what is his name?
Oz 4-wheel drive. Oh
no,
if you search OZ 4WD, you'll find it.
I'll tell you real quick, but yeah, like, and you know, it's just honestly the 2-doors just feels like just a hair bigger than the Xterra was. It felt wider. It just a little wider.
Yeah, it'll definitely be wider, and I guess that's another area where people split their opinion is IFS or solid axle, and the Patrol's up until recently has always been solid axle. So there's probably a bigger difference rather than motor size, I think.
Well, and I've seen because you guys with especially the full size Patrol, man, like you guys just treat it like it's whatever. We're gonna go take it off road, and I'm amazed. Like my buddy David Dash down there, like he's building front bars and stuff for them, and just people just go take them, buy them, and just go have fun with them, man. I am amazed at the culture.
Well, at first it was much more of a elite SUV. Mm-hmm. I think they just prior to the new facelift, there was some pricing revision, and then I heard they were flying off the lot. I think I don't have any numbers in front of me, but I think they were priced, let's say, lower than Land Cruiser, and then with that new information coming through about how capable and reliable and not so expensive to refill the VK56. I think guys were like, oh, hang on, well, I can use that to pull my caravan or my boat or, dip into my superannuation and deck it out with all accessories. Like a buddy of mine works for ARB and they are flat out like a lizard drinking, bro, trying to fill orders for things like this.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you catch that? That was another Australian. Sorry, man.
No, I love the Aussie slang, dude. It's every time you slip it in, dude. I'm like laughing so hard, trying not to laugh into the mic. So
it's Danny. It's Richard Griffey is Oz.
Yes, Richard Griffey. Yeah. Follow him. He's great. And he's an Aussie dude.
You about to say he's a real Australian?
Yeah, he's a real Australian. He's one of the real ones that I met. Yeah.
Oh man.
I like the white stuff. Yeah.
Hey, Trav. Who's Magilla Z? Because he sounds like a buddy of yours that's on the YouTube now, commenting a bunch.
Yeah. Well, I don't have the YouTube open, but yeah, he's definitely a buddy. His real name, he was born Grumpy Cat. And he looks just like him. Same mannerisms and all.
That's awesome.
What's he saying? Do I need to open up YouTube or what?
Nah, nothing specific. He's definitely. He said you could you'll pride diesel vehicles from my cold dead hands. He said we get taught more U.S. history than we do our own history. And he said he wants something other than the front wheel drive Pathfinder, and he's just kind of commenting on our conversation, but it was pretty clear from the beginning that he either knows you or he's a well educated Aussie from your general area.
Oh, well educated. Just ask him. He's not anti-modifications, but he's got a nice little GQ Patrol 4-door with a aftermarket turbo setup, still running 31-inch tires, like almost like it's a challenge.
Oh, I got you. No, I know those guys.
Yeah. But no, he's a good buddy, and he's also a Nissan Tragic with too many cars. So
perfect.
Poor guy.
We're keeping the company afloat by doing that. I'll say that.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, lucky they don't get if they got a cut from all of the old used cars off Facebook Marketplace, they'd probably be doing a lot better off.
Yeah, no kidding. Huh?
And I'm curious about that because I've never really asked this of any Australian I've dealt with, but buying a vehicle here in the United States, we see them on the lots, If I want it, I just go
Yeah.
buy it. My understanding is like that's not the way it is there, right? You have to kind of order it.
Well, it depends if you want something popular or not. Like the little Suzuki, is a Jimny?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they've only got display stock. You've got to order them. I've heard there's been supply issues with Navaras recently, but that just could have been like a bit of a COVID supply and demand blip.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, look, I've never been one to walk in a dealership with enough cash to pay sticker price and drive away in it, but there's probably some mandated cool down time, and then they prepare it for registration, which dealers can do, and some things like that. But that's fine new.
We're stupid. Like I could in 15 minutes probably about roll out with a car here. Like
I could buy 90% of the cars on dealer lots anywhere. It's just a matter of how much percentage points I want to pay on my loan. You could roll in and be like that. Well, you want that GTR? It's gonna be a 20% loan. Just lie on this form about how much you make. Whatever. They're pretty retarded here.
We don't even negotiate. Well, we don't negotiate price anymore. It's basically what they'll go. What do you want to pay a month?
What's your monthly payment?
Yeah.
Well, they'll finance you for 30 years on a car. It seems like that these days. It's more like buying a house than it is actually buying a car.
More paperwork, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, all of the companies try their finance options. Like, I think they've got like this comparative finance equivalent. If you're comparing it to like a bank loan or something. All my friends there will know I'm not a numbers guy, so I'm not going to get into that. But yeah, it's definitely not as aggressively sold like it sounds like it is there. I think our banking laws, they've definitely been tightened up recently. There's a bit of a Royal Commission, kind of like a Senate inquiry over, some shenanigans and some practices that industry was doing. So I'm sure that's trickled down to motor vehicle finance somehow.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're buying used, cash, or if you're trying to sell something on marketplace, you just get offered every piece of consumer electronics that's lying around their house as collateral.
I put my unfortunately I've put my 300Z up for sale on Facebook Marketplace, and let me just tell you, I've had probably 300 text messages about, is this still available? I'd say about 50% follow up with questions about the car. I've been offered 7 Mazda Miatas. I don't know if they call them MX-5s. If I don't know what you guys have over there, but let me just tell you,
if you're an MX-5 guy here, it's a Miata.
It's a Miata.
I like how the finger went together.
Let me just say that I will never, ever. A Miata for me is kind of like putting on Crocs.
Oh, whoa, now, come on now.
Like, I will never put Crocs on my feet, and I will never own a Miata. There's a base. I will never own a minivan. I will never own a Miata, and I will never put Crocs on my feet. There's a baseline in my life.
Danny, this sounds like a challenge now of getting you so drunk that we go and buy a used $1,000 Miata, and then
I put some Crocs on, and then we race a minivan.
But then, but the challenge is like getting you so drunk that you purchase one, and then somehow I slip Crocs on, and you pass out in that car. And then you wake up in the morning going, what the hell?
Catch me outside.
Dave, then he'll start saying things like, it's a momentum car, man.
it's balanced perfectly.
50-50.
Oh, man. That's great. It's great.
I mean, good on it. I mean, we all got to have a hobby. I mean, it's no worse than shit heap rusty Datsuns. I mean,
yeah, it's complete.
And
they are amazing on a track apparently, but I just have certain things in my life that I'm not I have told myself I will never do.
I almost had a Miata, Danny.
I believe you. I could see Dave in a Miata with some Crocs. His wife pulls up in the minivan and says, "Hey, we got to take the kids to school."
No minivans here, buddy.
But I could totally see Dave in a Miata.
I am. I mean, it's called a Juke.
I also got offered a terrible Jeep the other day for trade. I immediately said no because that's like the Miata of off-road vehicles.
Off-road
Yes.
I'm sure it's bounced perfect.
Yeah, it's balanced perfect for the trail. Something.
Well, so Dan, do you got any more questions? I feel like we're talking in the future right now, Danny. It's Saturday there, so
I know. This guy already knows what's happening tomorrow.
Yeah, I'd tell you the lotto numbers, but sorry, man.
Is tomorrow gonna be any good? Because for me, it's looking like it's pretty shitty because I got to work this weekend.
Yeah, well, history never repeats, I say.
Oh man, well Travis, I appreciate you coming on here, man. It's been a lot of fun. We're gonna have you back because for one, I just like talking stupid Australian things. Like for us, it's like I don't know why like different cultures like this. It's just so like
it's fun. No, yeah. It's fun. It's because we're literally like the same people. Mm-hmm. It's just we grew up in literally different worlds, and everything's the same, just slightly different. Like you're. I don't know if I'd call them jokes or the way that you, the way that you say things, not your accent per se, but whatever you call things or whatever.
What was the fruit? Adding some fruit to it or something?
Yeah, adding some fruit to it or something like that. It's effing hilarious. And I'm sure there's some things that Americans say that you're like, wait, what?
Wait, let me go country here, man.
Yeah.
We'll go real country and
when I've been over there, like I don't like. I do when I'm at, like buying gas or something. I don't call it petrol because I don't know what I'm talking about. I'll try and sound as American as I can because otherwise it just makes their day, and they're like, "Oh, where are you from?" And this,
I can imagine.
They're probably worried that you got some deadly spider. They're probably worried you got deadly spiders or some snake that's going to kill them.
Well, I'm kind of curious if I go over to Australia, is it less of an exciting thing for me to be American in Australia than it is for an Australian to be in America?
I don't know. I mean, everyone hates a tourist, but once I get over that, it's all good,
Yeah.
But look, when you come over, we'll definitely be able to find some kangaroos, both live and dead, depending on your preference. We get the redback spiders in my garage, so we'll be able to rustle up a little bit of local danger for you.
Nice.
That's awesome. Let me ask you this question. Figgy date pudding, is that a thing in Melbourne?
Yeah, they got it here. Yeah.
Also,
and it's a different kind of sticky date to when you're camping. I hear.
Oh, okay. And then are you guys infatuated with fucking pies?
Oh yeah.
I feel like Australians are infatuated with all kinds of pies, and I'm not talking about like cherry pie and apple pie. You guys make everything into a pie. It seems like
kangaroo pie.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like cream pies are pretty popular on the internet at the moment, but there's nothing better than going to a servo to get some petrol and getting a dog's eye and some dead horse for dinner.
Oh wow! Hey, I have ate kangaroo though. Danny, I have had some kangaroo. It's pretty chewy. Yeah, well, we're coming over. That's the next.
It's gonna happen. Man. We just got to make some better videos, apparently.
Yeah, clearly. So our Australian friends here that are watching, if you haven't yet, please subscribe to us because we're about as dumb as they come. So we're a good time to watch, anyways. Rebecca Bottomley was asking, what is the coolest Datsun that you've seen at Melbourne Datsun Days?
Oh, that's surely got to be her Datsun 1000.
She's looking for a shout out, huh?
Yeah.
Nice. So what is the Datsun Day? What is that?
It's a one day event. There's a couple of different cities that do one. There's one up in Sydney. There's one in Adelaide. The club that I'm with, we started up the Melbourne one, so it's pretty much just a casual kind of car meet. Some would call it a show and shine because we've got a few trophies.
Yeah.
It's been canned due to the COVID this year, but anything Nissan, Datsun, Infinity, is welcome. And we get some pretty cool stuff.
The 2 Infinities that are over there?
Yeah. I'll just yell out. I think Bob next door has one.
Oh, but Bob's your brother, right? I guess.
No, Bob's the uncle, I think. I don't know. Yeah. Maybe that's an English thing.
Oh man, Danny, wrap it up, dude. I could go on all day with just talking silly things. But I have ate kangaroo, by the way. I have had kangaroo beef jerky, and it's the chewiest, nastiest thing I've ever ate.
Yeah. I don't touch. There's a kangaroo skin in this closet behind me. I think I've still got it.
Wait.
You wear it at night?
You just rub it on your skin, exfoliate or something. Oh yeah, got on my skin, Becky.
Oh man.
I don't have a cow skin in my garage.
No, Danny, there's a pouch in it, and when Trav's having a bad day, he gets in the pouch, and it's a better deal.
Keeps his Halloween candy in there. I don't know.
No, we all have one, and then when like the kangaroos go to invade, we hang it up on the front door so they know not to mess with the household.
Oh, all right. Last question. Can you explain what a bogan is?
All right. There's a lot to a bogan. There's a New Zealand bogan and an Australian bogan. New Zealand bogan is pretty much just a guy who's into metal music. A bogan here has got a few different meanings. It's kind of like redneck as far as like it's not necessarily always a derogatory term, but let's just say trying to think of an American bogan. Maybe a little Joe Dirt, but not trying that hard.
Oh, like Dave. Dave, you're a bogan.
Nice.
I got called a bogan by my Australian buddy every time I went off road, and he's like, "Oh, you gonna go get out and do some bogan stuff?" I'm like, "Huh? What?"
What?
From California,
no, look, you guys can nail bogan stuff pretty good. You know, shotgunning cans of beer and shooting in the bush and
yeah.
Like
I do some bogan stuff.
But just a little bit.
Yeah. I think I warmed up to the name a little bit. It's not like you said. It's not necessarily derogatory. I mean, I'm sure it can be, but anyhow, Trav, thanks for coming on, dude. Thanks for bringing some culture, class. I don't know about that. We don't like class in here. It's not. There's no point. We'd bring it out. We'd ruin it anyways. So. Thanks for coming on and sharing some Australia tidbits. I'm excited that I learned about the 411.
We got a question here, Dan. Sorry, we got Mr. Ajax. Do Americans know about cricket? Is that that's the one with the flat bat or something, right?
Oh man.
Yeah.
No, we know nothing of that.
Well, look, I'll give you a real quick example. If you play baseball and you love hitting, you would love cricket, because if no one hits your wickets, you can stay there all day and hit 300 runs. For 2 days, you can do this.
Yeah, that one blew me away. There's also Australian football too, which is like it's not football, it's not rugby, it's Australian football. It's just an completely its own thing too, right?
See, I know from that because my nephew is a rugby guy.
Oh, rugby's different again, and there's 2 rugbies.
Uh-oh.
Dave.
We could go all night about the differences, but Trav, thanks for coming on, dude. I really appreciate it, buddy. Maybe when we get out there, you'll let us do fat donuts in your R31.
Yeah. After I got to rebuild the gearbox. I'll wait until you've done that, and then we'll rebuild it together.
All right, sounds good, buddy. Appreciate it.
Well, guys, once again, Travis, we appreciate you being on here, and smash the like button. These live shows are just goofy. They're just fun. We just we just shoot the shit basically. So once again, we appreciate everybody being on here. And so from all things Nissan here in Middle Tennessee to way over on Melbourne, Australia, that is, this has been your Nissan Nation. And Trav, what are we?
Out!
Peace, everybody. Love y'all.